Have you ever found yourself asking, God, is this the person you want me to be with? Maybe deep down, there's a small voice inside, or even moments when you feel uneasy about your relationship. But you push it aside, hoping everything will eventually fall into place. If you've been there, you're not alone. Many of us have felt torn between our hearts and what we sense God is whispering to us. Relationships are a beautiful part of life, but they can also be one of the most challenging areas to discern. C.S. Lewis once said, "We must stop regarding unpleasant things as interruptions of real life." The truth is that interruptions are real life. Could it be that the struggles in your relationship are God's way of getting your attention? Today, we're diving into 7 divine signs that you may be in the wrong relationship. These signs aren't about judgment. They're about helping you step into the relationship God truly desires for you. But before we dive in, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and declare your trust in God by commenting, "Lord, I trust your plan." This simple step not only strengthens your faith, but also helps share this life-changing message with others. And if you're ready to align with God's best for your life, stay with me until the end, because sign number 7 might completely shift your perspective. Sign number 1. The relationship pulls you away from God. Let me take you on a quick journey to the story of Solomon. In 1 Kings 11, we read about how Solomon, one of the wisest men who ever lived, allowed his many relationships to pull him away from God. Verse 4 says, "For when Solomon was old, his wives turned his heart away after other gods, and his heart was not wholly devoted to the Lord his God." Here's the thing. The people you surround yourself with, especially the person you're in a relationship with, have a direct influence on your spiritual life. Ask yourself, does this relationship encourage me to grow closer to God? Or does it fill my life with distractions, temptations, or even guilt? Sometimes the signs are subtle. Maybe you've stopped praying together, or perhaps your partner doesn't respect your faith journey, brushing it off as unimportant or even making you feel embarrassed about it. This can leave you spiritually drained and disconnected from God. C.S. Lewis beautifully reminds us, when first things are put first, second things are not suppressed but increased. When God is the priority in your life, everything else, your love life included, will fall into its proper place. But if your relationship is constantly pulling you away from Him, this could be a divine nudge to reflect on whether you're with the person God has for you. Take a moment and think, has your faith grown stronger since you've been in this relationship? If not, maybe it's time to pray and ask God to reveal what He wants for you. If this resonates with you, share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever felt distant from God because of a relationship? Let's talk about it together. And stay with us until sign number 7. You won't want to miss it. Sign number 2. You're unequally yoked. Here's a tough question, but it's an important one. Are you and your partner equally yoked? In 2 Corinthians 6:14, Paul tells us, "Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? Or what fellowship has light with darkness?" This doesn't mean that Christians should only be with perfect Christians. After all, none of us are perfect. But being equally yoked means that you and your partner share the same foundational beliefs and values, especially when it comes to your faith. Imagine 2 oxen yoked together, pulling a plow. If one is stronger than the other, or if they're pulling in opposite directions, what happens? The plow doesn't move forward. Instead, there's chaos, tension, and exhaustion. This is what happens in relationships where one person is pursuing a life centered on Christ, and the other is either indifferent or pulling in a completely different direction. It creates division, frustration, and ultimately, heartbreak. C.S. Lewis once observed, "Love ceases to be a demon only when it ceases to be a god." If we idolize our relationship or try to force it to work when the foundation is shaky, we risk turning something meant to reflect God's love into something that pulls us away from Him. You may find yourself constantly trying to fix things, hoping your partner will change or grow closer to God. But here's the truth: only God can change hearts. Your role is to pray, love, and trust Him. If you feel like you're doing all the pulling in the relationship, it's worth asking, is this what God has for me? Let's pause here. What does being equally yoked mean to you? Drop a comment below, and let's encourage each other as we seek God's wisdom in this area. Sign number 3. A lack of peace. Have you ever felt a constant sense of unease in your relationship? Like something just isn't quite right, but you can't put your finger on it? Maybe you're overthinking, constantly questioning the future, or feeling like you're walking on eggshells. This isn't just your emotions acting up. Sometimes this lack of peace is God trying to get your attention. Philippians 4:7 talks about the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding. When we're in alignment with His will, even in challenging seasons, there's an unshakable peace that fills our hearts. C.S. Lewis once said, "God cannot give us happiness and peace apart from Himself, because it is not there. There is no such thing." If you're always feeling anxious, unsettled, or unsure in your relationship, it may be because you're stepping outside of the peace that comes with walking in God's plan. Here's a story to think about. Imagine a couple who looks perfect on the outside. They smile in photos, attend church together, and appear happy. But behind the scenes, one of them is constantly questioning their compatibility, doubting whether they're truly aligned, and praying for clarity. That internal tug of war is often God's way of saying, "I have something better for you." Remember, peace is not about having a conflict-free relationship, but about knowing deep down that you're where God wants you to be. If you're lacking that peace, it's time to pause, pray, and ask God for direction. Have you ever felt a lack of peace in a relationship? Share your experience in the comments. Let's create a space where we can encourage and pray for one another. And hold on until we reach sign number 7. You won't believe what's coming. Sign number 4. The relationship stifles your purpose. God has given each of us a unique purpose, a calling that reflects His glory and impacts the world around us. But here's a challenging question. Is your relationship helping you fulfill that purpose, or is it holding you back? In Matthew 5:16, Jesus says, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Your partner should be someone who encourages that light, not dims it. Think about it. Does your relationship inspire you to pursue your God-given dreams? Or do you feel like you're constantly compromising, setting aside your passions, or shrinking yourself to fit into their world? C.S. Lewis beautifully observed, "The proper aim of giving is to put the recipient in a state where he no longer needs our gift." In a healthy, God-centered relationship, both partners uplift each other, pushing each other closer to God's purpose for their lives. But in the wrong relationship, your potential can be stifled, and you may find yourself drifting further from the plans God has for you. Maybe you felt like you're not growing. You've put your dreams on hold because your partner doesn't share your vision or doesn't understand the calling God has placed on your heart. If this resonates with you, it's time to ask yourself, Am I choosing this relationship over the purpose God has for me? Take a moment to reflect. Have you ever felt like your relationship was holding you back from God's purpose? Comment below and share your story. Your testimony could inspire someone else. Sign number 5. Persistent red flags are ignored. We've all heard the phrase red flags, but in a spiritual context, these are warning signs God places before us to guide us away from harm. The challenge is, we often see these red flags but choose to ignore them, convincing ourselves that things will get better or that we can fix the relationship. Proverbs 27:12 says, "The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty." Ignoring persistent issues in a relationship, whether it's dishonesty, disrespect, emotional manipulation, or even abuse, is like walking toward a storm without an umbrella. C.S. Lewis gives us this wisdom. Love is not affectionate feeling, but a steady wish for the loved person's ultimate good as far as it can be obtained. True love is rooted in God's truth, not in turning a blind eye to unhealthy patterns. Here's an example. Imagine someone constantly justifying their partner's hurtful behavior. Maybe they're saying things like, "They're just stressed," or "It's not that bad." But deep down, they know these behaviors don't align with God's vision of love, which is patient, kind, and rooted in mutual respect. 1 Corinthians 13:4-7. Ignoring red flags doesn't just hurt you, it keeps you from experiencing the love God has planned for you. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is step away and trust God to heal both you and your partner in His timing. What are some red flags you've noticed in past relationships? Let's talk about them in the comments so we can help each other spot and address these signs early. And keep watching until sign number 7. It might just be the breakthrough you've been waiting for. Sign number 6. The relationship is built on fear, not faith. Are you staying in the relationship because you're afraid to leave? Maybe you fear being alone, fear starting over, or even fear disappointing your partner or others around you. If fear is the foundation holding the relationship together, it's time to step back and evaluate. 2. Timothy 1:7 reminds us, "For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control." A relationship rooted in God's love will fill you with faith, confidence, and trust, not fear or insecurity. C.S. Lewis offers this profound insight. Courage is not simply one of the virtues, but the form of every virtue at the testing point. If fear is keeping you in a relationship, God might be calling you to summon the courage to step into the unknown, trusting Him to lead the way. Think about it. Are your decisions in the relationship driven by faith in God's plan, or by fear of what might happen if you let go? Fear may whisper lies. "You'll never find anyone better," or "This is as good as it gets." But God's truth says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Jeremiah 29:11. If fear is holding you back, it's time to surrender that fear to God and trust that His love casts out all fear. 1 John 4:18. Have you ever felt trapped by fear in a relationship? Share your story in the comments. Let's encourage one another to replace fear with faith in God's perfect plan. Sign number 7. The relationship doesn't reflect Christ's love. This final sign ties everything together. Does your relationship reflect Christ's love? Ephesians 5:25-27 paints a beautiful picture of what love should look like. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave Himself up for her to make her holy. Christ's love is sacrificial, patient, and life-giving. It encourages growth, fosters trust, and reflects God's glory. If your relationship is filled with constant conflict, selfishness, or disrespect, it's worth asking, is this the love God desires for me? C.S. Lewis wrote, "Affection is responsible for 9/10 of whatever solid and durable happiness there is in our lives. But this affection must align with God's design for love, not just romantic feelings, but a love that is rooted in Christ's example." Ask yourself, does this relationship draw out the best in me? Does it make me more Christ-like? Does it show others a glimpse of God's unconditional love? If the answer is no, it might be time to prayerfully consider letting go, not out of bitterness or regret, but out of trust that God's plans are always better. What does Christ-like love mean to you? Let us know in the comments. Your perspective could inspire someone else who's seeking clarity. So, there you have it. 7 divine signs that you might be in the wrong relationship. These signs aren't about condemnation, they're about freedom. God doesn't want you to settle for less than His best. He desires a relationship for you that reflects His love, grows your faith, and aligns with His purpose for your life. If you've recognized any of these signs, take heart. This is not the end of your story, it's the beginning of something beautiful. Trust God to guide you, heal you, and lead you into the relationship He has prepared for you. If this video spoke to you, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need this message. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel LWN for more faith-filled videos like this. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Finally, let's continue the conversation in the comments. Which of these signs stood out to you the most? Let us know and let's lift each other up in prayer and encouragement.